This is the last day at MQX Midwest in Springfield, Illinois, and I wanted to show you guys this morning how our ruler foot works with the templates, and we're going to make some feathers today. So what I'm going to do first here is start by pulling my bobbin thread up to the top, and we're just going to do a couple little stitches here to lock that down. This way I can get rid of this extra tail. And we're going to go ahead and do a spine. Most feathers are built on a spine of some sort. This is our flourish tool. Well, now we make this in the larger sizes too, and of course for the long arm as well. But this is my go-to tool for spine, so you can either choose a really wavy spine or a more soft, gentle spine. So this is going to just go right next to the foot on my machine here. This is the small ruler foot, so we're going to stitch right along the edge there, and this will repeat just like any of our Path Easy tools. So we're going to stitch right down to the end, and when we get to the end we're going to stop, needle down, and slide our template, and this will repeat to get us a really nice even spine. So when you're trying to do those borders and sashings. Okay, stop. Just a little back stitch there. But you can see that nice even spine, so you get a perfect wavy line every single time. And then feathers. Everybody wants to make them. So I've got my little feather magic here. Notice there's a registration line across that template, and I use that registration line throughout as I'm making the feathers. So we just want to be conscientious of that, so when I'm talking about this as I go, you know that that's what registration line I'm talking about. Okay, so all we're going to do here is this template will nicely slide in right around that foot, so I don't have to raise my foot, I don't have to break the thread, and I can push this in or slide it out depending on how long or short I want my feathers to be. So I'm just gonna stitch out, and that foot fits perfectly in that little groove, so I'm gonna stitching all the way around. When I get to the end of the little hook there, I'm gonna go ahead and stitch back, and I'm gonna stop where that registration line is. Now all I'm going to do is slide my template over so that my foot is now back in the tip of that little hook, and then I'm going to stitch back to the spine here. And you can see how nice and perfect those feathers are. Now I didn't have to mark anything. We're only backtracking the tip there of the feather. So every other feather we're going to backtrack just over this tip, and that prevents us from having to backtrack the whole thing, and that's where we tend to make mistakes and we can't stay on the backtrack perfectly. So now for my next feather, I'm just going to slide the template over, so I'm never taking it out from around the foot, but you can see that feather that I just finished in that little hook area. And that's now going to become our stop sign. So when we stitch back out, when we hit that line, we're going to stop. We're going to come back to that registration line and stop. Okay? So we're stitching out, around the hook, back to the registration line, and then we're going to slide that over back into the hook and stitch back down then to the spine. So it's just two simple movements that we're repeating over and over as we move. So the same two things, and we're going to zip right up this spine clear to the top. Now I have found when I'm doing this, if I try to go back down, because you know we want to not cut thread as little as possible. So as I get to the top, and naturally I would want to, you know, just continue back down the other side. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to be very successful that way. I end up with really nice perky feathers on one side of my spine, and then if I try to go back down the other way, I end up with these droopy, saggy feathers. And so when I get to the top, I always just stop, do a little backtrack, and come back down the other side. Now when I do get to the other side, I'm going to show you a feather using exactly the same tool, but we're going to just spice it up a little bit by doing something a little bit different. You know, just a different take on the feather itself. And back down to the spine here. And we're almost to the top. Out. Hit the feather. Back to the top. Bump it over. So it's just those same two movements. Back to the spine. Slide. Come out. Hit the feather we just finished. Back to the top. And bump it over. So this works up really quite quick. Especially, I'm going a little slow because I want to make sure that you can see this good. But now I'm to the top. So I'm going to go clear back down to where I started on that spine. Do a little back stitch there. And I want to show you where we're at here. So you can see how nice and neat that feather looks on that side. You can see where the little backtracks are on every other tip of every other feather. I'm going to trim my back thread here so I can start over. Alrighty. So now we've done one whole side. Now all I'm going to do is come back down to the bottom, lock my threads in, get rid of my tail here, and I'm going to repeat on the other side. So we're going to slide the template in, and we're going to stitch out. Now this time, like I said, I was going to show you a variation. So we're going to start just like we started on the other one. We're going to stop on the top. We're going to slide this over so that we're back in the tip of that little hook there. And we're going to come back down to the spine. All right, now I'm going to show you this variation. So when we slide, everything's the same. We're going to slide so that we're in that position to start the next feather. This time I'm going to stitch out, and I'm kind of pushing a little bit towards the inside edge of that template around the hook. When I get to the feather that we just finished, I'm going to go ahead and come back, and I'm going to hug that outside edge. So when I hug that outside edge on the way back and back down to the spine, notice I get a perfect echo. So on the way out, I'm hugging the inside of the template. On the way back, I'm going to hug that outside of that template. So we're going to do that again. So we're going to stitch out. I'm hugging that inside edge, just kind of putting a little bit of pressure, not super hard. Stop and come out to the outside and stitch down to the spine. Slide, and you're going to repeat this. Now, maybe you don't want to do it the whole way. You just want to throw one or two in here or there. You know, this is just something a little bit different. Spices things up a little bit, but you can see how nice that looks. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the row out with the feathers like we were doing initially. So we're just going to stitch out. When I hit that feather, I'm going to come back to the top, and I'm going to slide that into my little hook here and out. Slide my template back to the top, slide my template, and we're going to just zip right up here so we can get to the end of this so you can see what it looks like when it's finished. So, like I said, the glory of doing this is there's absolutely no marking. I myself have a terrible time if I do mark something, then I feel like I have to stay perfectly on that line, and if it's not, then I messed it up. So this way, there's no marking. All right. Almost to the top here. Bump it over to the tip of that feather. And slide. 2 more and we'll have this baby licked. Back to the top, and we're going to finish it off here. And just a little back stitch to tie it all off. And you can see I've got really nice feathers. It didn't take me very long at all. It looks great, and I never had to mark a single thing. So if you want to find the templates and the ruler foot here, you can go to www.cscountrystitchin.com, and you can find them on our website. If you're going to be in the Springfield area today, stop on by the show, booth 408, and we'd be happy to give you a full demo on the templates and get you set up with what you need. Thanks everyone. Have a great day.